Did you know that China has more than 1.4 billion people, yet only one political party controls everything? Meanwhile, in the US, over 330 million people choose their leaders through free elections every few years. These two nations, with their different ways of thinking, are at the center of a global struggle for influence and power. But how did these two countries develop such different political systems? And what impact does it have on the rest of the world? In this video, we'll dive deep into the heart of Chinese and American political philosophies. We'll explore why China's government believes in central control, while America champions individual freedom. We'll look at shocking facts and real-life strategies that have shaped the global stage. Stay tuned as we uncover the fascinating battle between China's top-down rule and America's democratic ideals. Which approach is better for the future of the world? Let's find out together. Chapter 1: The Mandate of Heaven versus the Will of the People. The political strategies of China and the US have their roots in different ideas of legitimacy. In China, the concept of the mandate of heaven dates back over 2,000 years. This idea suggests that the ruler's authority comes from a higher power. If the ruler is unjust, they can lose this mandate, which opens the door for new leadership. Historically, the mandate of heaven justified the rise and fall of dynasties, from the Zhou to the king. Interestingly, this concept still impacts Chinese governance today. The Chinese Communist Party claims to hold the mandate of the people, even though it's not chosen through democratic elections. In contrast, the United States has no divine right to rule. Instead, American power is grounded in the will of the people. This principle is enshrined in the US Constitution and is the backbone of democratic elections. Every few years, Americans vote, determining who will lead based on popular support. This emphasis on the people, however, isn't without its challenges. Voter turnout in the US averages about 60%, which means a significant portion of the population doesn't actively participate in the process. While the Chinese government's authority remains relatively unchallenged, US leaders face constant elections. Yet, both nations maintain a strong sense of political stability, albeit in different ways. China, for example, is governed by a single-party system that prioritizes unity. The US, however, thrives on political diversity and debate. The Chinese Communist Party's approach is about maintaining long-term control, using economic growth and social harmony to keep citizens loyal. Meanwhile, the US uses elections, public opinion, and the separation of powers to ensure political accountability. China's strategy is based on stability through central control, which is one of the reasons the country has been so successful in rapidly growing its economy over the last few decades. American political power, however, is much more flexible and subject to change, often influenced by public sentiment and the media. In the US, the political system is designed for checks and balances, ensuring no one branch of government becomes too powerful. Thus, while China's system is rooted in maintaining authority through a single-party, hierarchical structure, the US system promotes competition, negotiation, and the freedom of the individual. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more insights into global political philosophies. Chapter 2: Harmony or Chaos. The role of individualism. When comparing Chinese and American political strategies, the balance between individual rights and collective harmony stands out. In China, the idea of harmony is central. The government prioritizes the collective well-being over individual freedoms. This is deeply rooted in Confucianism, which encourages obedience and respect for authority. Confucius believed that societal order is achieved when everyone knows their place and fulfills their role. This philosophy still shapes China's politics today. The Chinese government often emphasizes the importance of social stability and collective good. For example, when the government launched its controversial social credit system, it was framed as a way to promote trust and order. This system tracks individuals' behavior, rewarding those who follow the rules and penalizing those who don't. While this may seem intrusive, it's a reflection of China's emphasis on harmony over personal freedom. The US operates with a very different set of values. Individualism is the foundation of American political philosophy. The belief that each person should have the freedom to make their own choices is embedded in the American psyche. This idea is enshrined in the Bill of Rights, which guarantees freedoms like speech, religion, and assembly. Americans see these rights as fundamental, even when they challenge the status quo. However, this individualism can lead to tension and division. The US political system thrives on debate, but this often results in polarization. According to a 2023 Gallup poll, 46% of Americans say they are dissatisfied with the state of the nation, citing division and inequality. The system of checks and balances, designed to keep power from being concentrated in one branch of government, can also create gridlock. While the Chinese system favors social harmony, the US approach often leads to chaotic debates and political stalemates. Both systems, however, find ways to manage conflict. In China, the government exercises control through censorship and media influence, ensuring that dissent is minimized. In the US, freedom of speech is enshrined in law, but that often means political debates can be loud and messy. Each country's strategy for managing conflict reflects its underlying philosophy. China values order, while the US values freedom. Chapter 3: Centralized Power, Dynasty or Democracy. Another key difference between Chinese and American political strategies is the concentration of power. In China, centralized power has been the norm for centuries. Historically, China was ruled by powerful dynasties, with emperors holding absolute authority. The modern Chinese Communist Party, CCP, has inherited this centralized model. The CCP controls the military, the media, and all major policy decisions, ensuring the party's power remains unchallenged. This centralization allows for quick decision-making. In the last few decades, China's leadership has steered the country from poverty to becoming the second-largest economy in the world. This has been made possible through policies that can be implemented swiftly and without the delays of democratic processes. For example, China's Made in China 2025 plan is an ambitious strategy to dominate industries like artificial intelligence, robotics, and clean energy. The central government can direct resources towards these goals with a level of efficiency that would be difficult in a democracy. On the other hand, the United States relies on a system of distributed power. The Founding Fathers intentionally created a system where no one branch of government could become too powerful. This system includes checks and balances, federalism, and the separation of powers. The President, Congress, and the Supreme Court each have distinct roles. This prevents any one individual or group from controlling the country's decisions. While this system is designed to prevent authoritarianism, it can also lead to inefficiency. The US government often struggles to pass major laws due to political gridlock. For instance, despite widespread public support for healthcare reform, efforts to pass a national plan have faced repeated roadblocks in Congress. In contrast, China's ability to push through major initiatives without debate can lead to rapid change, but sometimes at the cost of public input. The centralized nature of China's government gives it a unique strategic advantage in executing long-term plans. However, it also comes with risks. Centralized power can lead to corruption and abuses of power, as seen during the rule of emperors and even in modern times. Meanwhile, the American system, while slower and sometimes more chaotic, provides mechanisms for accountability and transparency. In conclusion, while China's centralized power strategy allows for swift, top-down governance, the US relies on democratic processes that ensure power is spread out. Each system has its strengths and weaknesses, and both countries have adapted their political strategies to meet their respective needs. If you're enjoying the deep dive into these political philosophies, don't forget to subscribe for more insights in future videos. Chapter 4: Confucius versus Jefferson, the philosophical battle. When we talk about Chinese and American political strategies, we can't overlook the philosophical foundations that guide each country's system. In China, the teachings of Confucius have had a deep impact on governance. Confucius believed in the importance of moral leadership and social hierarchy. His philosophy promotes the idea that the people should respect their rulers, who in turn must act with virtue and wisdom. The stability of society, according to Confucius, depends on each individual knowing their place in the social order. This philosophy influenced China's strategy for governance, where leaders are expected to be benevolent and wise, ensuring social harmony. The Chinese Communist Party uses this idea in its political campaigns, emphasizing moral integrity and collective success. For instance, Chinese leaders like Xi Jinping promote values of unity and loyalty to the state, reinforcing Confucian ideas of order and hierarchy. On the other hand, American political philosophy is heavily shaped by the Enlightenment thinkers, particularly Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson, one of the Founding Fathers, emphasized the importance of individual rights, liberty, and democracy. In his writings, especially in the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson argued that all men are created equal and that governments derive their power from the consent of the governed. This belief in individual liberty is at the heart of the American political system. The US Constitution guarantees certain inalienable rights, such as freedom of speech, religion, and the press. Unlike China, where the state often guides and controls public discourse, the US allows its citizens to express dissent without fear of retribution. This has made America's political strategy more open and competitive, with regular elections ensuring that leaders stay accountable to the people. In practice, this means that while China prioritizes social harmony and collective goals, the US values personal freedom and self-expression. Both strategies have proven effective in their own way, but the underlying philosophical differences are clear. In China, the government ensures stability by adhering to Confucian ideals of order, while in the US, the idea of government by the people creates a system built on constant renewal and change. Chapter 5: Eternal Wisdom or Innovation. Adapting to modernity. China and America have both faced the challenge of adapting to modernity, but their strategies differ greatly. China has a long history of maintaining traditions that are deeply embedded in its culture. Confucianism and its emphasis on hierarchy, respect for authority, and collective good still play a major role in shaping China's political approach. Yet, China has been able to adapt to the modern world, particularly through economic reforms and technological advancement. In the late 1970s, China took a dramatic turn with Deng Xiaoping's economic reforms, opening up the country to foreign investment and global trade. This move was in stark contrast to China's earlier policies of isolation. Since then, China has embraced modern technologies like high-speed rail, artificial intelligence, and digital currency, becoming a global leader in innovation. The Chinese government's strategy has been to harness the power of technology while maintaining control over key sectors of the economy. One of the standout strategies in China's approach to modernity is its emphasis on state-led capitalism. This allows the government to guide the economy's growth while encouraging private enterprise. For example, tech giants like Alibaba and Tencent have flourished under China's state-controlled economic model. The government can direct investments in strategic sectors like green energy, 5G technology, and space exploration, ensuring the country stays competitive globally. In contrast, the United States has embraced a more liberal approach to economic innovation. The US thrives on a market-driven economy, where private companies lead technological advancements. Silicon Valley is the perfect example of this strategy, with tech startups often disrupting industries and challenging traditional business models. American companies like Apple, Google, and Tesla have reshaped the global economy with their innovative ideas, products, and services. However, this innovation has come at a cost. The US political system is often seen as reactive rather than proactive. While American companies push forward with new ideas, the government struggles to regulate emerging industries like artificial intelligence and data privacy. In fact, a recent study by the Pew Research Center found that 61% of Americans believe the government should do more to regulate big tech companies. While both China and the US have adapted to modernity, they have done so using different strategies. China's state-led capitalism allows for more control over its economy, while the US promotes market-driven innovation, albeit with challenges in regulation. Both countries face the pressures of staying ahead in a rapidly changing world, but their strategies reflect their contrasting political philosophies. Chapter 6: The Dragon and the Eagle, the Global Stage. When looking at global power dynamics, the strategies of China and the US differ significantly, shaped by their political philosophies. China, historically seen as a middle kingdom, views itself as the center of global civilization. This view comes from the ancient belief that China should lead the world in all things, culturally, economically, and politically. Today, this idea still influences China's foreign policy, especially as the country seeks to expand its influence globally. China's Belt and Road Initiative (BRI) is an ambitious project aimed at enhancing global trade routes, infrastructure, and political ties. Through this strategy, China has invested billions of dollars in countries across Asia, Africa, and Europe, offering loans for infrastructure projects while building strong political relationships. The BRI is often seen as a way for China to create a sphere of influence, all while boosting its economic power. On the other hand, the United States has long seen itself as the global leader of democracy and freedom. Since World War II, the US has used its political, military, and economic power to shape the world order. Through institutions like the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, and NATO, the US has positioned itself as the protector of democratic values. However, in recent years, there has been a shift in US foreign policy. A 2022 Gallup poll found that only 37% of Americans believe the US should play an active role in world affairs, signaling a growing isolationist sentiment. While China seeks to expand its influence through economic power and infrastructure, the US strategy has been more about shaping the global order through alliances and promoting democratic values. The US military presence in strategic locations around the world, along with its soft power through cultural exports, has helped maintain its global influence. But with China's rise and challenges to American leadership, the global stage is now more competitive than ever. The tension between the US and China is likely to continue as both countries promote different worldviews. China's emphasis on economic development and centralized control contrasts sharply with America's democratic ideals and military dominance. As the two nations continue to vie for global influence, their political strategies will shape not only their futures but the future of the world. Make sure to subscribe to stay updated on the latest trends in global politics. The world is changing fast, and you won't want to miss a thing.